we'd like to ask His Holiness Smita Krishna Maharaj to please come up and share his heartfelt realizations with us, with Srila Prabhupada, and we'll listen.
My dear Srila Prabhupada, dear God brothers and how do we say, God nephews, do we say like that? So we are here today, 2017, at Govardhan in the Bhaktivedanta Ashram. And we spoke, and I see good friends that I know fairly well, and others of you that I maybe don't know at all. So the mention here was like how there's a worldwide movement now. It's truly a worldwide movement. That is Prabhupada's glories, okay. When I came to this movement, 1970, short after me, Sacinandana Maharaj came also, and he can testify that the temple was very humble. When you open the window, you have to be careful so it didn't fall out. That was the reality. And then the devotees told me, yes, this movement is going to spread all over the world. And I wondered, how will that happen? It didn't look like that to me then. But maybe it is like with a seed. You plant the seed in the ground and first you see nothing. It takes some time for the seed to make roots and then it expands. When the roots are a little bit there, then it starts to come up something, and first it comes up something pretty straight. And then when it's more established, it starts to branch off. And that way it expands. And then there's flowers. First there's flowers and then there may be fruits. And the tree, the plant, depending on what kind of seed it's in, may turn out differently. But if you have a tree, then it can grow big and big. So as time passed by, I've been blessed to see how the movement have expanded and grown. And it's not, and that is whether I've been here or not, but we can say we've been blessed to be part of this process, to see the movement grow throughout the decades. So to be here today, and there's a fairly international gathering here at Govardhan. It's like a manifestation of Prabhupada's mercy and excellence. Prabhupada, that for me then, Prabhupada established something that, well, we can't really say survived himself, because we heard here he's not gone. He's with us. Prabhupada continued to be with us in various ways through his instructions, through the books. Then the technology of modern times that I maybe don't like, but still Krishna or Maya has supplied all kind of technological devices by which the spoken words of Prabhupada has been conserved. We can actually hear it still today, and we can read the books, and then someone can complain that they're edited. Edited or not edited, they're there. It's a miracle. So then, how many members are there today? Well, one thing is memberships. Numbers, we might not be very good to be very exact in defining, who is a member, who is not a member. That's a discussion. But it's expanding around the world. So basically, I can say, well, I wondered, how will that happen? By the mercy of Prabhupada, by the mercy of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it happened. It has been an ongoing process. And then So someone said that someone said something like that. Well, the only thing I've done is I've stayed. Well, only thing. Well, I tried to stay, hold on, and be a part of it, and move, and be assistant in it in some way or another. That is we maybe can say within our capacity, because if we try to do something beyond our capacity, we will not really be able to go so far, because then we, as we read here, prayer. In the prayer we were reading that, asking for a drop of mercy to falling. So we become more humble than a blade of grass. So actually we are like blades of grass. So we are being blessed by Krishna, and thus we are still here, or we are here. It's not because of qualification, but because of the mercy of the Lord has given us, and then because of that mercy, whatever little bit of qualification has gained some significance. Without the mercy of the Lord, it would not have, or without it being used in the service of the Lord, that qualification, of what use would it have been? Or power of speech, or power of singing, or power of managing. What use would it have been if it had not been used for Krishna's service? What I like, one thing, so the Prabhupada's success, he puts on emphasis on some points, but then he took the qualifications of the devotees, as far as I see, the little bit I've seen and understood, and many times employ them. You put them in use according to the capacity. So you have all kind of things going on. Not all kind of, many different things going on that Prabhupada instituted: restaurants and schools and farms and preaching centers, dioramas, scientific preaching, and I don't know what more. So he spread it, he made a variety, and that is, from a biological point of view, the more biodiversity there is, the stronger the system will be. So the fact that we have plenty of many different things going on under the direction or with the inspiration or initiated by Srila Prabhupada. Therefore we have a strong movement going on. Well, I say strong. It's going on. And it's spreading, and people are chanting Hare Krishna, sometimes whether they are in the Hare Krishna movement or not, it's going on. So the diversity of Prabhupada, many different branches, different directions, maybe encouraging. And then I thought, yes, at the end of his life, Srila Prabhupada, 76, 77, Prabhupada put more emphasis on farms and communities and things like that. He did put an emphasis on that. And that Prabhupada said then, what did he say? Some places he said, only half my work is done. I spoke with some kind of business consultant, and he heard that, he said, he thought that only half of his work has been done. He thought it was a great statement by the founder of the movement, that he says that I have only done half. So that means there's another half to do, there's more to go, to fill up, so to say, however we see that. I go on maybe self-sufficiency in the half, what that second half is, but Prabhupada kind of left the opening to go on. And of course, we try to do things according to Prabhupada's directions. At the same time, maybe we can follow by the letter, or also try to, if we don't understand the letter, try to get the spirit and follow the spirit and then expand things. What I thought when I'm contemplating here, what I like, something, the basic, we can say basic. Well, Prabhupada, okay, so there is, we can say, external activities, and we can say maybe it looks external in different direction, farm communities, restaurants, whatever, preaching, big temples. And of course, it's all connected with Krishna and Prabhupada, and therefore it gains a spiritual quality and there's a spiritual value. Then at the same time, Prabhupada encouraged us to become the topmost devotees. He encouraged everyone to, in one sense, through his writing and through his preaching, encourage everyone to become topmost devotees of the Lord. We can say he put the goal high. We should, become pure devotees, fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Machita matkata prana burayanta parasparam katayanta shamam nityam tushanti sharamanti sha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Therein the purport, I just like to quote there, Prabhupada states like this: in the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. So that's like being absorbed and being satisfied with the pleasure coming from the activities, and then, so on a more even further mature stage, pleasure coming from maybe not from the activity, from the being with Krishna, in Krishna consciousness, in service to Krishna, in meditation on Krishna. Then there is the following verse in the purport. I like a purport there. Giving hope. So Prabhupada put up a high goal. I cannot be fully, and it's like if he's have a consideration for his disciples, for the audience limitations. So in purport to verse Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Prabhupada says like this, and that's: a person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization. But still, if he's not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions, though they may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person is always engage himself in Krishna consciousness, and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain him. So there I take is something like, if you're not intelligent enough, so he makes you may not be intelligent enough, you may think you're not intelligent enough, but of course if you're a devotee, we heard the previous prayer, please give me a drop of mercy so I become humble like a straw in the street and blade and tolerant and all these kind of things. So in one sense that is a qualification of devotee. We become the devotee doesn't feel himself great, so maybe the devotees feel a little bit discouraged, but then Prabhupada so you maybe not be intelligent enough, but Krishna will help from within. The serious devotee, he will help from within. And then we should do some work, and then he said, and it should be done with love. With affection, and that is what Krishna appreciates, or Prabhupada and the Baba or something, that we do it with love, whatever small or whatever big, but do with love. And then of course doing it love, we try our best we can. Okay, so here we are, Hare Krishna. Time is also slowly ticking on. That was 1970. we were young boys and girls, and many of you were not even born at that time. Actually, that's the reality of it. You know, the reality is that, you know, time, I feel like I'm floating in a river of time. And then I can see it, you can't really stop it. And then I can see God brothers getting some sickness, and then God brothers, God sisters, leaving this world behind. Gradually this is going on, and it continues going on, and then my voice is affected, Maharaja, voice is affected, other things. You're getting the bell is ringing a little bit, sometimes here and there, telling to shape up, or okay, it may soon be our turn, but the point is that wonderful to be here, okay? I know it's recorded. Avashishekika Prabhu is kind of churning here and pulling out the best of us, realizations and things, and that's great. And we have this association of equals and, well, equals in times, in that, but then we also have the point of realizations, because now I've been here some days or weeks almost. I've managed to catch up a little bit, and seeing the young devotees seem to be very learned and alert is very touching and very promising for the future, so to say. And so, okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, I maybe tend to go backwards and take it easy in a way, but still it's nice to see. And I thank you for the gurus who have done this, encouraging disciples and developing the disciples. And the disciples, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
We'll now call His Holiness Dear Krishna Maharaj.
All right, so Om Ganatimiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual masters, Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So today, I'm very honored to be here, of course, with all these exalted Vaishnavas who are tolerating me throughout the years. So today I want to speak about something that's been in my mind quite a bit. It's a topic called unity and diversity, which Srila Prabhupada touched upon. And also it's connected with something called love and cooperation. Both things are very much connected. So the first point I want to make is that when we hear about cooperation, we often think that we should, just be nice to everybody and externally, yes, work together, but it involves much more than that. In other words, we think that cooperation is an external affair. Just that whatever the GBC says we'll do or we won't do. But in any case, it's not that. Cooperation is something that's internal, just like devotional service. Many times we think that we have done our sadhana or our bhakti because we rose early, chanted our rounds, but were we conscious when we were doing those particular activities, is my question. Of course, there's a typical joke they have in ISKCON is that, wake me up when my rounds are done. Or Prabhupada one time, he was sort of like sarcastically showing what inattentive devotional service is. He was chanting his japa, and he moved down his last counter beat, and he said, now I'm finished, I can do any damn thing. So how often are we doing our service unconsciously? In other words, ritualistically. And of course we know, according to the Upadeshamrita, that is one of the causes of deviation from Krishna consciousness. Achahara prayasasya prajapa niyamagraha. So niyamagraha, doing devotional service without internally doing devotional service. So cooperation is something like that too. we often cooperate, resentfully, and not really imbibing the mood that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to have. And a big challenge in that regard is this unity and diversity. Because as we grow, or our movement grows, or as we get older, as the case may be, we discover people have divergent viewpoints, not just on the different services. I mean, obviously, that was touched upon by His Holiness Smita Krishna Maharaj. We have many different services, restaurants, temples, Harinam parties, farm communities, which we really haven't developed yet too well in the Western world. So we have all these different services, but there's more than that. There's different outlooks on how to understand Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's position, something that's called, to use a fancy word, hermeneutics. And there's different viewpoints on how to present Krishna consciousness according to time, place, and circumstance. And then, like any society, for lack of a better word or words, we have our conservatives and our liberals, right? And we have our, ultra-conservatives, and we have our ultra-liberals. And so, wow, it's all over the spectrum. I'm not going to compare it to politicians because, anyway, I'm not going to talk about politicians nowadays. But in any case, it's all over the place. So what do we do? And I would say we should take it down to the point that everybody is trying to please, everybody who is connected to Prabhupada, who loves Prabhupada, is trying to please Prabhupada and spread his mission in their own way. And so somehow or other, we have to develop this mood, this appreciation, that yes, I don't agree with what you're doing, I don't agree with your interpretation even of a particular verse in the Bhagavatam, but your intention, your desires to please Srila Prabhupada. And that's what I mean by love and trust. And Prabhupada commented on this. I wanted to read just one quote. I'm not going to read a lot of quotes from Prabhupada when he was commenting on the famous verse in the Shikshastika, Chanadapi Sanichina Tarare Vasushana Manina Manadena Kirtanya Sadari, which really is such an essential verse to become more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. And that's also an internal thing. You really have to have love to be able to do that. And our movement is a movement of love. It's not a movement of rules and regulations. We have rules and regulations. But the whole purpose of the rules and regulations is to develop that love for Krishna, for our spiritual master, and in fact, all living entities, as the this Upanishad says, Yastu sarvani bhutani atmane panupashati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato navigagupshate. The one who loves Krishna loves everyone. So, and of course the Bhagavatam states, Notpariyad yadi vratim shramaya vikevalam. If you're not developing that, even if you're doing everything else right, you're wasting your time. Or in other words, spinning your wheels, to use a Western expression. So Srila Prabhupada, in commenting on this particular verse in the Shikshastika, says, this is extremely important purport. Material nature means dissension and disagreement, especially in this Kali Yuga. But for this Krishna consciousness movement, its success will depend on agreement, even though there are varieties of engagements. In the material world, there are varieties, but there is no agreement. In the spiritual world, there are varieties, but there is agreement. That is the difference. Excuse me. The materialist, without being able to understand or adjust the varieties and the disagreements, makes everything zero. They cannot come into agreement with varieties. But if we keep Krishna in the center, then there will be agreement in varieties. And I'm going to add, keep Prabhupada's pleasure in the center. There'll be agreement in varieties. This is called unity in diversity. I am therefore suggesting and this suggestion has not been taken up yet in the Hare Krishna movement, that all of our men meet in Mayapur every year during the birth anniversary of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all the GBC and senior men present. We should discuss how to make unity in diversity. A very important instruction from Srila Prabhupada. But if we fight on account of diversity, then it is simply the material platform. Please try to maintain the philosophy of unity and diversity. That will make our movement successful. One section of men has already gone out, and therefore we must be very careful to maintain unity and diversity, and remember the story in Aesop's fables of the father of many children with the bundle of sticks. When the father asked his children to break the bundle of sticks wrapped in a bag, none of them could do it. But when they removed the sticks from the bag and tried one by one, the sticks were easily broken. So this is the strength in unity. But if we are all bunched up, we can never be broken. But when divided, we can become broken very easily. That's a letter to Kirtananda in 1973. So, there's other letters here which I'm not going to read. So to have this sort of unity and diversity is a real challenge. Because normally, especially as you progress in spiritual life or you learn the philosophy nicely, you tend to become a little proud. And then you tend to see things in terms of categories. In other words, you tend to designate people or give people labels and don't see people as labels anymore. This is one of the problems not only in the Krishna consciousness movement, but I think in every religious society. There have been studies, in fact, that in religions or organized religions, I'm not sure if we're organized, but anyway, but in organized religions, forgive me, are we online? We're online? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble now. So in organized religions, that 80% of the people in organized religions are less compassionate than people in general. That is an amazing, thank you, amazing statistic. Because we tend to see in categories, especially having such a nice philosophy, we tend to see in categories and we tend to designate each other. Oh, he's fallen, he's a rascal, he's a deviant. Like so many labels we have for each other. So the solution is given by Srila Prabhupada. How to have this unity and diversity and love each other and see beyond the categories. And that solution is very simply stated in the Upadeshamrita by Srila Prabhupada. In verse 4, that talks about the different loving exchanges, which I think most of you are familiar with. The dati pratigranati guyam akyati prachiti punkte bojyate chaiva. That's revealing the mind. I'm not doing it in order, but revealing the mind in confidence, hearing from others, giving prasadam, giving gifts, accepting prasadam, etc. So we engage with each other on a personal level. And I'm not talking about the internet here. The internet is something that's capable of destroying our Krishna consciousness movement. Because most communication, of those who study communication know, like 92% is body language and tone of voice. Very little is the words. And I see the internet is causing so much dissension in our movement today. Just like recently we had a very interesting meeting in the GBC where people were criticizing one particular individual, and we met together, and guess what? It was basically a kumbaya moment. Because most of you don't know what that means. That means love and trust. Because we met together, we took prasadam together, we sat together, and someone who people were previously criticizing became their buddy. Wow. So it's a simple solution. Accept Srila Prabhupada's direction in this regard, and that's the direction, of course, that Srila Rupa Goswami has given us. Sit down, appreciate each other, give gifts to each other, take prasadam with each other, glorify Prabhupada with each other. I mean, we're a family. Prabhupada said that there's an ISKCON in the spiritual world, and we're all going to be together forever. So if we can't get along with each other now, what are we going to do in the spiritual world? We're going to start fighting with each other on the internet in the spiritual world? I don't think so. So Prabhupada said only one person's not going to the spiritual world, Mr. Nair. So I think by Prabhupada's mercy, eventually he will go to the spiritual world, even though Prabhupada said that. So let's take Prabhupada's words very seriously in the Upadeshamrita. And Prabhupada said our movement increases or expands by these 6 loving exchange and stays together. Our movement is one of love. So, thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Ashram, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Mother Jahnavi from Brazil.
I met the devotees in New York. They were in Harinam. I took a book, and then when Srila Prabhupada's book. So when I read this book, I found everything I was looking for in this book. And the Srila Prabhupada's book is so powerful that it gave me strength to give up everything and go look for the Hare Krishna. So I went to the temple, but then I was very scared. I was hearing so many things, and so I went back home, and I continued reading Prabhupada's books and following the instructions that he was giving in the books. And Prabhupada was always come to my dreams. So in the beginning I have a lot of association with Prabhupada through his books and dreams. So I'm gonna share one dream that I had with him. I was in New York, I was completely lost, and the world was upside down, like elevator, instead of going this way, I was going this way. The trains, instead of going this way, I was going this way. And each step I would do, I was in a different country, in a different place, in different, complete everything so different. And I was like completely lost. Then I remember I can call my husband. And I was in Broadway, and I was thinking, but now how can I call him? And I saw, do you know, before they have those phones on the street? Yeah. So I saw this phone, and I had to cross the street, Broadway. And when I was to cross the Broadway, I don't know, a very, very bright light came, and I was blind. I could not cross the street. And I was trying to open my eyes and open, and I could not open my eyes. And when I could open my eyes, that bright light was coming from Srila Prabhupada poster that I had in my room. So this very bright light. And the Prabhupada told me, I will protect you. So that's it. Hare Krishna.
Dhanurdhara dasi ki jai. Now we call someone from the next generation member of Kirtan to come up and say a few words.
Hare Krishna. Today I've always found to be a very powerful day for meditating on Prabhupada, meditating on his influence on the world, and for meditating on the love that he's awoken in so many people. And you can see people come up today and speak about Prabhupada with practically tears in their eyes. We can learn how moving of a person he was. And even today, for those who haven't even necessarily associated with him physically, so many people that are generations away, We've been so touched by Prabhupada, and our lives have completely transformed. And most of us, perhaps, were heading down a very dark path of ignorance and destruction. But by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we've completely entered a new realm of existence. And that existence is completely unmatchable from anything else that can be experienced in this world. And when we contemplate how great of a gift that is that Srila Prabhupada's given us, it really affects the heart, and it really has a very deep meditation to just understand how profoundly generous a person can be. And by understanding this profound generosity of Srila Prabhupada, we understand that he's actually a manifestation of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna. And by understanding that, we can understand by understanding Prabhupada's, generosity, it gives us an understanding of Lord Chaitanya's generosity. And by understanding Lord Chaitanya's generosity, we can understand Lord Krishna's love for all of us and all living entities. So Prabhupada is, in that way, the via medium by which we can understand Krishna's love for all living entities. And by meditating on that, one becomes advanced in spiritual life and able to offer that realization to others also. Because in this world, everybody is lacking so much in this one simple thing of just having relationships. Because they're all looking for relationships outside of Krishna consciousness. When actually the only real relationship that we can really have, as Prabhupada says so many times, the only real friendship we really have is our friendship and our relationship and our love with Krishna. And since that love has been lost and that relationship has been lost, all of us are suffering in unlimited anger and our unlimited anxiety, unlimited illusion. But the pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada and the great acharyas have come to reawaken that love within us. Jiv jago, jiv ka jago, Gora Chandra bole, as Bhaktivedanta Ashram says. So, all the acharyas have done many, many great things to bring Krishna consciousness to the world. But we can see that Prabhupada has a special position as the Senapati Bhakta, and he's impacted the whole world very, very strongly. And as the last devotee was just speaking, that many people who are not even in ISKCON, they're aware of Krishna now. There's so many people now. The world has become practically Krishna conscious to more or less of a degree because of Prabhupada's influence. So many people know what ISKCON is, especially in India and other places. It's not uncommon. If you go on book distribution, you'll meet many people who say, "Oh yeah, I know ISKCON, I know Krishna." And this is all Prabhupada's unlimited potency. So I think today is a very important day to reawaken our appreciation for Srila Prabhupada and to try to grasp how much he's really given to us and how much he really carried Krishna. He carried pure love of God and gave it freely as a gift to all. And how meaningful that is for all of us, how meaningful that is for our lives, and how meaningful that is for the world, and how we can really never repay such a inconceivable gift, and to just feel that sense of Prabhupada's transcendental generosity. So that's what I try to meditate on this day, Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
His Great Honor, Kirtan Prabhu Ki. Now, Sacinandana Maharaj, would you please come up?
Hare Krishna. Now, thank you all very, very much for allowing me to be amongst you and address Srila Prabhupada and all of you with realizations maybe. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskatya Desatayane Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. On the way here, my motorcycle driver and myself engaged in a little practice, that is, we were telling each other what Srila Prabhupada means to us at this moment in time, now. And he said, but Prabhupada, he saved all of us. So at that moment, he had just finished his sentence, a cow jumped before the motorcycle. And no one wants to hit a cow with an impact of a very fast motorcycle. We were fast. We are always a little late, so we were fast. And he hit the brakes. and everyone was going, the wheels were smoking. And we just somehow swept by that cow without hitting the cow, without getting hurt. It was really an accident situation, but we were saved. And both of us had only one word. Wow! This happened when we just said, Prabhupada saved us. And we were silent for some moment because, well, we were just saved, and the cow was saved, and the situation was saved. But as we continued to drive, I really thought in my life what it means that Prabhupada saved me. Where was I heading to? And now I have changed my course of direction entirely. I was contemplating this, and what I had prepared to offer to Srila Prabhupada today took on an entirely new meaning, and I would like to present this. Have you ever asked yourself what could have been going on in Srila Prabhupada when he was just about to embark this Jaladuta ship and go to America without any contacts and with an insecure feeling? I heard he took 2 bags of what we call muesli nowadays with him because he thought maybe I will not get anything to eat in America, so let me have my supply with me. Have you ever asked what else could have gone on in him? And I do believe by trying to solve this question, our appreciation for Srila Prabhupada will grow very much and will lead us to a difficult, if not dangerous question, and that is, what could it mean now to surrender more to Prabhupada in my own life. Okay, let's first try to enter the mind of Srila Prabhupada, and of course we won't try to do this by mental speculation, but here is a verse which he wrote in that when he was on board the ship Jaladuta. It is dated September 13th, 65. He makes a very deep statement to open. He says, I say to you, brother Krishna, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. Without going into this statement, let us go to the next. He talks about his spiritual master who sent him to America. He says, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. He is that great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. So Prabhupada does something which is very typical for him. He doesn't say, I'm going now and I will spread Krishna consciousness now. No, he says, my own spiritual master, he is unparalleled in his service. He bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. He is the one who does this. Srila Prabhupada would always credit his own spiritual master. In let us say, Vedic spirituality, there is a principle. If you do something well, for instance, and others come to you, well spoken, this project you have developed it very well, if at that moment you say yes, you swallow deadly poison. If you are praised for an achievement, you must give immediately credit to your own spiritual master. Just like it said, Lord Shiva is never affected by any amount of poison. Your own spiritual master, whom you praise. No, it is the mercy of Prabhupada, which work. That he will not suffer from this. So this is one of the, let me say, defining character traits and thinking traits of Srila Prabhupada. He continues in this vein. He says, by his strong desire, my spiritual master's strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world. In all the cities, towns, and villages on the earth, from all the oceans, seas, rivers, and streams, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. He has confidence, a tremendous amount of confidence. Vyasadeva sheds light on this. For a surrendered soul, there is no idea of I'm the doer. He thinks, as I'm made to do, I am doing. As some deity within my heart moves me, I am moving. And because he knows the Lord and his servants are unlimitedly powerful, I can rest in peace. Everything will be done by them. I'm incapable, but they are very capable. A surrendered soul, in other words, becomes engaged in the purpose of God, and that can never fail. An unsurrendered soul who thinks he's doing is very much in anxiety. Prabhupada says it will spread everywhere. And I heard when he was in New York with his, he had something like 300 rupees worth of Lakshmi. He looked at a big building. He wanted to purchase it because and he looked, and here will be the office, and here will be the temple, and here will be this and that, because he had this. He is a fully surrendered soul, and he had that faith. Another faith which he has is in the chanting of the holy name. My dear devotees, we were a little while ago together with the most tolerant member of the Hare Krishna movement. It's the tree in Tompkins Square Park, under which Srila Prabhupada started his movement. He could have done it in a number of ways to start his movement in America. But due to his primary faith in the Yuga Dharma, chanting the holy name, he did it only in the Hare Krishna way. He sat under that tree who was a witness to him, and he just chanted. And when the caretaker of the garden said, "Sir, you can't sit really on the lawn here," he moved from the lawn and sat on the tarmac. That's where you dirty your dhoti usually, because when it's heat, hot, then it melts into your dhoti. So Prabhupada were very, because he wanted to chant, he wanted to start. And I personally saw him once. I was guarding his room, and all of a sudden there was sweet sounds coming from the room. So I peeked, opened the room, and then I saw him just chanting, with crying, with tears. Gauranga bolite ave pulaka sharir, Hari Hari bolite nayane bhaveniyam. When will that opportune moment come to me? When there will be shivering of the body as soon as I chant Lord Gauranga's names. And after the shivering, while chanting Hare Krishna, when will there be tears pouring down from my eyes? I want to say Prabhupada's main means for spiritual success and his consistent stress on this means leave no doubt that we must join his Hare Krishna movement, a movement which chants, which is sufficiently advanced and purified in the heart, that there will be the reaction of such chanting, that is a tremendous influx of the spiritual energy into the heart, and then this so on. So Prabhupada continues. It is in this vein. He says at the end. He says another thing very nicely. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I'm not worthy or fit to do it. I'm very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, now I'm begging for your mercy so that I may become worthy, for you are the wisest and most experienced of all. I think if statistical analysis a statistical analyst who analyzes would make at this point in ISKCON an inquiry, what is the most often quoted verse? He would maybe isolate Savadamam Parichaja, but I'm almost sure he would then come with Trinad Api, Sunichena, the verse on humility. Today I want to ask you all a question. What does humility mean in actual day-to-day practice? In a movement like ours, where we so often externalize the process, humility is an enigma. It has become a social form of conduct. Oh, please, Prabhu, forgive my offenses. Oh, for a humble statement, he said. And he didn't even do an offense, but he said he must be humble. It means a certain bodily posture in an externalized way, if you look at it in an externalized way. It means maybe to stop arguing, although you would like to continue arguing with someone, but it's more chic to be humble. Also, you achieve more when being humble. What means humility? And I would like to offer one realization in this month of Kartik. It means to enter a position of dependency, to act and feel, or to feel and act that my life is dependent. I'm helpless and therefore hopeless, but I am dependent. I really feel when it comes to the practice of humility, this is how to do it. Hare Krishna. What a pleasant surprise to see that. I would like to now ask the soul-searching question. Today is Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. Oh, Bhurijam Prabhu is also here. Hare Krishna.
Also Gunagrai Maharaj.
Also Gunagrai Maharaj. Wow, we're filling. Did you also bring His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, who was here last year? I would like to end by putting a question to all of you, my dear God brothers, my dear newer devotees. I would like to ask you the question, what could it mean for you to surrender more to Srila Prabhupada? I somehow believe that on this disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada, it's very good to ask this question. My observation in my own life is I surrender in the areas I like to surrender. I like preaching. I can do a lot. I give up even my sleep and my prasadam when there is preaching opportunity. You can test me. I'm quite consistent on this. I like certain things in Krishna consciousness. But I begin to understand, if I always do what I like, I will never be purified in my heart. If I always if I choose and pick what I like to do, I realize slowly I will remain on the place where I'm presently in. Surrender doesn't really mean to do what you like, and it also doesn't mean to do what you don't like. Surrender is about something else. It means to like being a servant of the person you want to surrender to. To like to do this. I'm acting as a servant, and if it requires to do what I like, I do it. If it requires to do what I don't like, I equally do it. I think if we don't come to this level, we will not be able to call ourselves good disciples of Srila Prabhupada. This unconditional surrender, that surrender to doing the things Prabhupada would like them to do, I realize it's sometimes not 100% clear if you can't ask him, but I'm thinking of a general attitude to be willing to do what Srila Prabhupada likes to do. I think then we stop having our own mind as our spiritual master, and we adopt the real spiritual master. I really feel this is something. I liked how Krishna Maharaj spoke. He spoke about a subject where you could see he was feeling strongly about it, and he was on fire. His circulation was very well. This is my point where I am on fire and where my circulation starts moving. To try to, I'm seriously considering surrendering also to the things which I don't choose, the things which have to be done, because and this is my last my last point. It is clear when we consider how we can make advancement in spiritual life, if we dare to even think about subjects of when will I serve Krishna, Radha and Krishna in my constitutional position, original constitutional position. If we enter into the question, where can my Krishna consciousness be really alive so that I can think of Krishna 24 hours a day and take all the garbage out of my heart about which I'm thinking now. But when I dare to think about the question, how will I be Krishna conscious, and so on, there is one entry gate, and you cannot bypass it. There are entry gates, and you can climb over the wired, over the barbed wire. I remember when I was young, I wanted to visit the each Rolling Stones concert for free, because I considered myself an equal to Mick Jagger. Yes. And I never would pay entrance fees. I would always bypass the entrance. Sometimes I would ignite a fire at one place of the protective fence, and then the police with their horses and their painful beating instruments were busy with the fire, and I would climb with a group of joyful friends somewhere where it was safe, the fence, and join the degradation. It is possible, if you are a little courageous and a little creative in finding means, to bypass entry gates. It's possible. You can even go for free on an airplane. It's possible, if you know what to do. There are books available how to get free on an airplane. But when you want to go to the spiritual world, my dear devotees, the entry gate is service to a pure devotee, to your spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada. You cannot bypass this. And he will look in your eyes and ask the question, are you a surrendered disciple, or are you a strong-minded disciple who picks what he likes? So this is all. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.
His Holiness Sacinandana Swami ki jai. Now we call His Holiness Dhanurdhara Swami.
So today is the Tirobhav Titi Mahotsava, the 40th year anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. And if we consider that disciples of Prabhupada were initiated any time between maybe 1967 and 76, it means that most of the people that have been speaking here have been in the Krishna consciousness movement between 41 and 50 years. That's easily more than 2/3 of their lives. And there have been struggles. There's been difficulties. Each one has met their challenges. It hasn't always been chant and be happy. But Prema Pumartha Mahan, Prabhupada gave us the greatest thing, which is prema. Adau Shraddha. He gave us faith, and faith is a seed of prema. I think someone was mentioning, I think Smita Krishna Maharaja, that, gave us the seed. It's the seed of prema. And prema is the highest thing. So, anything we go through in life is actually a very bargain small price. It's a bargain small price for what Prabhupada has given us. And we can all reflect, because it's not just, people here probably have joined in 79, so it's 39 years or 20 years. We can reflect on what Prabhupada has given us. And maybe a question, Sacinandana Swami was saying, different questions. Where would we be? What would we be doing if Prabhupada didn't give us what he gave us? I'm in New York City often, and I look down the street and I see people, and what are they lacking? What are they lacking? They don't have any knowledge. And feeling so much deep gratitude for the education that Prabhupada gave us, that we know what to do. We have a purpose in life. I know I often reflect on this, that when I came to Krishna consciousness, my parents were, to say it lightly, upset. But after a while, seeing the qualities that you develop, they begin to appreciate. And then I remember one time my father came to me, born in Brooklyn and in that mood, and he looked at me very soberly. I have a younger brother and an older brother, and he said, "Son," he said, "I have 3 sons, and you're the only one with his head screwed on right." And I reflected, what does that mean? What does that mean? It's the direction that Prabhupada gave us through his books, through his teachings, through his example, and how it gave us a real life. So I think today is a day, one Nagar Sankirtan talked about Prabhupada's generosity, Nagar Kirtan. And I think we could feel it's a day of gratitude. It's a day of deep gratitude. Prabhupada said we should chant the holy name and listen to the sincerity of our chanting. A lot's been talking about not just an external thing. And the voice in our chanting, not just the syllables. Actually, Krishna hears the voice. Bhurijan Prabhu gave an example of going to Lohi Bazaar, And the shopkeeper says, "Haribo, Prabhu, Haribo, Prabhu." But what do you hear? I want your money. So it's the internal thing. And I thought today, actually in my chanting in the morning, I thought an interesting exercise in the chanting is to hear thank you when you're chanting. Just to hear thank you to Srila Prabhupada for all the incredible gifts that he gave. Bhorijan Prabhu also said a very nice thing once. He would ask people, what is your taste in Krishna consciousness? And that's the door to the spiritual world. So what is your taste in Krishna consciousness? It's those things that Prabhupada gave us, which we treasure, really, if we think about it, through all the difficulties, which are the greatest gifts in the world. Kesava Bharati Maharaj is very inspired, reading Prabhupada's books, hearing it every day. They're hearing for 5 hours. And that's a gift. That's his taste. What a gift. Is there anything better than that? Or living in Vrindavan. Where would we be if Prabhupada didn't give us Vrindavan? I can't imagine not coming here every year. Prabhupada gave us Vrindavan. I met Vishal Prabhu, one of our godbrothers in New York, very senior devotee, and he was in Vrindavan. He loves Vrindavan. And when Prabhupada came one year, he just was running towards Prabhupada and saying, "Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai." And Prabhupada said, "You like it?" He said, "Yes." Prabhupada said, "It's yours." So Prabhupada's given us, so many wonderful gifts. And I think gratitude may be the first budding consciousness of the soul, the real us, beyond all the other fluctuations of thoughts that go on in the mind. I remember I was in Dallas, Texas, and Prabhupada came, and our godbrother, Jhanavi Prabhu, very tall, about 6'5", stood up and said to Prabhupada, how can we repay you? And Prabhupada's answer was he said, just remain obliged. Who wrote that verse? Someone can say, Nama Shreshtam Manumapi Sachipu Raghunath Das Goswami. Is it? Yeah. Yeah, it may be in Mukta Charita. It's so he said the gifts, Nama Shreshtam Manumapi. The best thing is he gave us the holy name. He gave us the Kirtan, the holy name, Nama Shreshtam Manumapi Sachi Putram. He gave us Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Atra Sarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam. The associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Uruparim Matara Gostavatim, Radha Kundam Girivaro. He gave us Govardhan. He gave us Radha Kund. He gave us the great gifts. So this is a day to remain obliged. Vaisheshika Prabhu asked also that we share our realizations, and I think what realization means is not just understanding something is true, but seeing it. Where have you seen Prabhupada this year? Where have you seen Prabhupada's mercy manifest this year? And I just want to do maybe a little exercise, just take 5 minutes and then give my own realizations. But many wonderful biographies are coming out. I don't say biographies of Prabhupada, but memoirs of devotees that are with Prabhupada, which are glorifications of Prabhupada. Shama Sundar's book, You Can't Put It Down, and Vishaka book was like really wonderful. So I was reading her book, and I began to have this kind of meditation because there was like a tension in the book, and the tension is is who she was, from where she's coming, and what Prabhupada was giving. They didn't exactly match. Because if you read the story, she came from New York. From where she came, it seems like a pretty good family. I know that area, Great Neck Estates.
I know her family.
You know her family. And then family is atheistic to the core. It's almost a tragic story at the end that her family was still disappointed with her. She's probably radical feminist, I would probably say. And then she comes into the Krishna consciousness movement just because her boyfriend got a photo, an assignment to write an article. And you can see, I was just trying to figure out how would Prabhupada get through? How did Prabhupada get through? Because even if the sun is very bright, a cloud can cover your eyes. And that's the way the soul is. We're clouded by our ignorance, our misconceptions, our agendas, our ideologies, and everything. It's just, and this is Bhaktivedanta Krishna Maharaj was speaking about so many different people with so many different things. So, and watching it, and then not only does she have her own doubts, but the presentation of Krishna consciousness would exacerbate every single doubt she had. Because she was facing, as Kripamoya Prabhu wrote in his book about Guru Disciple, we call them the Saffron Cardinals. So many young men that prematurely took sannyas, and their frustration of their sex desire comes out in a oppression and negativity towards women. And she's facing that also. And brilliantly kind of describes that in the book. Of course, Prabhupada said in a humble way, he said, my godbrothers criticized me, but I made one mistake. He said, I gave young people sannyas. He said, but what could I do when there's no trees in the forest? The castor oil tree looks big. So he's facing this kind of, this tension. And then, this cloud of everything that would prevent someone from joining a particular movement. And then she surrenders to Prabhupada. And so my question is, and I think it's what is it in Prabhupada that was able to penetrate those obstacles? They're substantial obstacles. Was able to penetrate those obstacles. So you can kind of meditate on that. And I don't want to take too long. There's so many exalted speakers there. I'll just mention one that I can think of, and there were many, but one was Prabhupada's ability to relate to people. One time I was inviting a very senior Vaishnava to speak at Prabhupada's second Tirubhav Titi Mahotsava in Vrindavan. And, I said, he said, what will I say? What would I say? But he lived with Prabhupada. He had some association with Prabhupada. So I said, well, say, what did you see in Prabhupada then? That, first of all, he said to me, I said, but you knew Prabhupada. He said, I didn't know Prabhupada. He said, just like you go in the temple and you're before the deities and you're talking with your friend, are you seeing Krishna? I didn't know Prabhupada. I said, well, what is it that you saw then that maybe would indicate what he would be now? And then he said Prabhupada's ability to relate with people. And he said when Prabhupada was with a child, he said when Prabhupada was a very elderly Vaishnav came in, Prabhupada was so humble and respectful. When a child came in, Prabhupada could be like a child. And when a friend came in, Prabhupada knew how to open his heart. So I was thinking that one of the things is Prabhupada was so expert relating, and you were mentioning the 6 loving exchanges mentioned in Upadeshamrita. And when you engage in those 6 loving exchanges, what happens is it creates a conduit from your heart to the other person's heart. And if it's bad association, what's in that person's heart will come in. And if it's good association, what's in that person's heart will come in. So I kind of saw that Prabhupada was just so expert at relating in a very loving and personal way, without compromise of his own principles and philosophy. And I think just because she was Prabhupada's photographer, he also engaged her, and she was focusing and looking at Prabhupada and studying Prabhupada, and Prabhupada's, the relationships were there. I think, a drop of that heart of Prabhupada came to her heart. And a drop of that heart becomes the goal of your life, because the goal of your life is what gives the highest pleasure. So I think that it's a good way today that we could just remember, really, I see people here, Brahmatirtha Prabhu is here, I think similar thing may have happened to him. I'll speak in a language people will know, with the obstacle of a Yiddish cup. But Prabhupada penetrated that the intellectualism, the ideology, the background, the skeptics, the doubts, just by relating in a particular way, so many deep things, came in that superseded any other minor ideological conception that didn't fit, or politically correct thing that didn't fit. It superseded it to make one go on despite maybe some things you don't understand. And that's all right in Krishna consciousness. Even with Prabhupada, he may say things that you don't understand. It's okay. But there is so much you do understand, and more than what you understand, there's so many things that you feel. So we can offer our gratitude to Srila Prabhupada today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Swami Maharaj ki jai. We call Hansa Priya from California.
Hare Krishna. I'm so grateful to be here among the wonderful, exalted devotees, disciples and grand disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Actually, very grateful for Srila Prabhupada because his one and only one thing that Srila Prabhupada had come to US was that his blessings from his spiritual master and instructions from his spiritual master, that has brought all of us together today. So I'm very grateful for that. Srila Prabhupada didn't have any family, no friends, no money first year when he came to US. And only one thing he had was blessings and instructions of his spiritual master. And because of that, today we are able to have many, many more blessings from the wonderful Vaishnavas in the Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya's movement. I was reflecting that it's 40 years since Srila Prabhupada has been left us, but actually never felt that way because his books, his teachings, his wonderful disciples have always made us felt his presence every single day. And I, like many devotees mentioned today, that it's not like always been chant and be happy. They have lost sleeps, they have struggled, they fought, they have had many sleepless nights to see how we can move forward. and how we can spread Srila Prabhupada's teachings and invite and share with everyone else. And that Srila Prabhupada's disciple have actually also carried on what Srila Prabhupada had, a firm faith in his teachers' instructions and blessings. And we are learning that through today and actually watching every single day through his disciples. And I was blessed to grow up in the moment, and in the last 38 years, what Prabhupada's teachings have become much more convinced in my heart through his disciples and through the family that we have today. And on this auspicious day of Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day, all I can probably beg and pray and probably repeat the words that Srila Prabhupada grants us that blessing, that the conviction that Srila Prabhupada's disciples carried for you in their heart, that we can carry in our heart. Like Sacinandana Maharaja says, that surrendering, we all are here today because we have felt something like Maharaj said. It's beside repeating and sharing, but we have experienced something within our heart that can be paid forward, that can be, made it available for everyone. But that it takes a lot more from within ourselves to share or give to anyone else selflessly. And that probably Prabhupada had it because Prabhupada had that blessing and instructions. Today we have blessings and instruction, but I think we need much more than that in order for me to carry forward and share with everyone else. So today, on this very auspicious day, I ask that all my God brothers, God sisters, whole family here in ISKCON, that we get the blessings from the Srila Prabhupada disciples and instructions you have given us, but something that we can take it more seriously and share with everyone else. We want to pay forward, we want to help, we want to make a difference, we want to serve you, we want to live this life for you, but we don't know what it will take to come out and share. That will be very connecting to everyone's heart. That it's just that we could probably make one big family happy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. For Grace Hansa, Priya, dasi, Kirtan. Now we call His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu.
A few days ago I was speaking with His Holiness Dhanurdhara Maharaj, and he made a very nice comment to me. Maharaj engages us sometimes in speaking, and he told me that when you speak something, you should speak in such a way that's relevant for everyone. So I'm sitting here in this very august assembly with so many very senior devotees, and so many things we could say, but what is relevant that could come from me for all these devotees? That's what I'm trying to find and search. Because I'm not a Prabhupada disciple, I'm not an older devotee. I joined the Los Angeles Temple in 1982. And when I joined, we used to go and chant japa in Srila Prabhupada's room upstairs. And in the Bhakti program, they used to take us to Cheviot Hills Park, where Prabhupada would go for walks every day. And we'd go to Venice Beach, where Prabhupada would go for walks. And everything was around Srila Prabhupada. It was only a few years after Prabhupada had left. And a very deep feeling grew in my heart that, what did I do wrong? How is it that I've just come just a few years too late and I didn't get to meet this personality? And we heard so much about Srila Prabhupada. Some years later, I read the book Bhaktivedanta by Narahari Chakravarti, and there's a wonderful and relevant story there about the life of Srinivasacharya, and how Srinivas was a young boy and he'd heard so much about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so finally, when he got permission from his seniors, he ran to Jagannath Puri. And as he was coming to Puri with so much excitement to see and have darshan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were some people coming from the other direction, and they were weeping and crying. And Srinivas, who has a soft heart, he asked them, "What's wrong? Is everything okay?" And they said, "You haven't heard the news. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world." And Srinivasacharya fell down on the ground like a tree that had been cut at the root. And he didn't move from that place. He just cried and decided better I just fast until death. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to him in a vision, said, "No, you should go to Puri. Gadadhar Pandit's waiting for you." And so he went and he met with Gadadhar. And then later he was going to Vrindavan. And again, on the way to Vrindavan, he was so excited, "I'm going to get to meet Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis." And as he was coming toward Mathura, he saw some people coming from the other direction, and they were crying. And Srinivas said, "What is it?" "Well, you didn't hear. Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis have left this world." And again, he thought, better I just die. Well, how misfortune I have. And he fell down, and that time he had a vision of Rupa and Sanatana. They told him, "No, you go to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He's waiting for you." So when I read this, I thought, we also have some relevance, second generation devotees, in the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada in this way. And Prabhupada can be very, very real for us. But we want to meet Srila Prabhupada. And I can tell everyone a little something very personal. I joined in 1982, and I was initiated by a kind-hearted person, a disciple, Srila Prabhupada. And after a few years, that devotee had some problems, and he went away. And I had a great crisis in my life. And for like 7 years, I didn't have faith in anyone. And I was reading Srila Prabhupada's books. That was around the time the Ridvik idea was coming out. And I embraced that right away, that yes, I'll just take shelter of Prabhupada and do Prabhupada's books. But I wasn't satisfied. And then many things happened in my personal life, and Krishna gave me a good kick. And I went back to the Los Angeles temple. And one day I happened to go to visit some very senior Prabhupada disciples, very senior devotees. And I went into their room, and they had some affection for me somehow. And they were telling me this and that, and how are you doing? And I said, well, I have this conviction now that I need a guru. I need some association. And those 3 devotees, very, very senior, they began to preach to me with great affection for me, that you don't want that, just take shelter of Prabhupada, and you don't want to have someone who's going to fall down. And they're so senior, I was just quiet for like an hour. And they were speaking and speaking to me. I didn't say anything. And finally, after an hour, one of them, he said, so what do you think of all this? And then I had to look really, really deep in my heart. And I told him, I said that I'm very honored and very touched that you have so much affection for me, and your words are true, and they have some depth. And I don't want to go through what I went through before. But I have to tell you, for 7 years, I've been taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada. I've been reading his books. I've been serving the movement, distributing books, doing so many things. And I have to tell you, I'm sorry, but I'm not satisfied. And I want what you have. And then I pointed at each one of them one at a time, and I said, Srila Prabhupada, he gave you personal instructions. Prabhupada told you to go to South Africa. And I pointed out, Prabhupada told you to go to Pakistan. Prabhupada told the third one, he said, to go to South India and preach. And you had instructions from Prabhupada, and you had affection from Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada chastised you, and Prabhupada encouraged you. And I want that. And I'm not satisfied with anything less than that. Unless maybe Prabhupada comes to me in a dream or something. But that hasn't happened. I want what you have. And then they were quiet for a few minutes. And finally one of them said, oh, you're very sincere, Prabhu. I'm sure you'll get what you're looking for. Some years later, later that year, I was going every day to Srila Prabhupada's room and I was praying and crying. But Prabhupada, I need a guru, I know that. But I need the real deal. I need someone who really is your representative. And shortly after that, I was very fortunate to meet my spiritual master. And I could feel in my heart, this is a subjective comment, but for me, I strongly felt Srila Prabhupada sent him. Dhanurdhara Maharaj was mentioning how in Vishaka's book, he felt that Prabhupada, a drop of Prabhupada had entered into her heart. And it reminds me of a wonderful statement in Krishna Lila Stavas from Sanatana Goswami where he says that Rupa Namashrita Vishta. That when someone takes shelter of Rupa, the form, or Nam, Rupa Nama Ashrita, they're taking shelter, then Avishta, that personality enters into their heart. The holy name enters the heart of the devotees. That guru, that great saintly person that we're serving and meditating on their desires, they enter into the heart of that devotee. And I wanted that. I wanted to meet Srila Prabhupada. And I felt that I did that through my spiritual master. And whatever it's worth, coming from a very young devotee, we meet Srila Prabhupada in so many ways, through Prabhupada's deity. We meet Srila Prabhupada through Prabhupada's books and through Prabhupada's mission, his movement. But there's another way that many devotees don't always speak about. We just heard something about it just a moment ago. And that is meeting Srila Prabhupada through his devotees. And for me, that's such a very, very important thing. And I need to feel that Prabhupada is personally there. Sometimes devotees, they say that, anyway, you're all out of luck. We have maybe in this assembly today, maybe a dozen devotees who actually got to meet Srila Prabhupada and take initiation from him. And the rest of you guys, well, anyway, maybe your next life or something. You're just out of luck. It's too bad. What a horrible, horrible type of thing to say. Govardhan Maharaj, he used to tell us that there's always a sadhu present. And he said there's proof of that. The proof is that the sun is shining. The proof is that there's air. And I thought, that's nice. And then later, some years later, I was reading in Padma Purana and I came across a nice verse where Krishna tells Arjuna, Sangsara Vaishnavadino, Deva Vaishnava Palita, Aham cha Vaishnavadinas tasmat shreshtascha Vaishnava. Krishna tells Arjuna exactly what Govardhan Maharaj is telling us, that without the Vaishnavas, this whole sangsar is dependent on the presence of the Vaishnavas. There must be some pure Vaishnav present. Otherwise, this existence couldn't go on. Deva Vaishnava Palita, all the demigods, the air and the sun and everything else, they're dependent on the presence of at least one pure Vaishnava. And Krishna says, what to speak of them? Tasmat shreshtascha Vaishnava. He says that Aham cha Vaishnavadinas. I'm dependent on the Vaishnavas. I can't exist. The Krishna conscious movement can't exist. The holy name can't be present if there isn't some pure Vaishnava. There must be. And for me, this is how I want to meet Srila Prabhupada. I'll finish with a short story from Kurma's wonderful book about Prabhupada in Australia. He said how Vaikuntanath Prabhu was serving Srila Prabhupada by transcribing Prabhupada's recordings. Prabhupada was speaking his purports every day. And the system in those days, as most of you probably know, is they would return the tapes and they would record over them. And so one early morning, he had the tape, he wanted to return it, and without knocking or anything, he just walked into Srila Prabhupada's room. And he said that Prabhupada was chanting japa. But Prabhupada wasn't just chanting japa, Prabhupada was in samadhi. And there was an atmosphere in the room that permeated everything. It was extremely intense. And Vaikuntanath just stopped. And he thought, Prabhupada was so absorbed, he didn't even notice that Vaikuntanath had come in. And he thought, maybe this is not a good time. And he left. And he had a reflection about that, which really struck me. He said that there's so many preachers in the world who wear their religion on the outside, but in private, it's not the same. But Srila Prabhupada was just the opposite. In private, his devotion was even more intense than what he showed in public. And so this is what I would like to meet. I was very touched by Bir Krishna Maharaj, your very nice talk about unity and diversity. And the need, that Prabhupada said in one lecture, this movement means devotees. He said we should learn to love the devotees. He said in 1968 in Los Angeles in one lecture. And how do we love devotees? The Satvata Tantra describes Hari Lila Satochara, Pareshu Satatamtra Karya Pratistavahara Yata Bhaktivedanta. We should learn to love devotees because they're speaking about Krishna, because they've heard from Srila Prabhupada, and something has entered into their heart, and that's what we want. As Bir Krishna Maharaj and everyone's been saying in such a nice way, we don't want just some institution or something external. We want something very deep. People want that. We can't just go out on the street and say, hey, we have a great religion, you know. We have a great temple, a nice building. People don't want that. They don't want organized religion. They want something very, very intimate and very, very intense. And that's possible. That's my personal conviction. And my personal realization that Prabhupada's still present. If we want to meet him, he's present in the form of his devotees. So thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Grace Madhavananda Prabhu ki jai. Now he calls Holiness Kesava Bharati Das Goswami Maharaj.
Srila Prabhupada, I was greatly fortunate to be present when you apparently passed away from this world. And at the moment that happened, I was looking at your face and noticed your lips move slightly. Hare Krishna. And you left. I looked down at my own form and I saw that every aspect of my being was a result of what you had given me. So I would like to try to explain what it means that another person is your life and soul. It means that there is no external, internal on this subject. I want to please you. I want to look like you. I want to speak like you. Wonderful, wonderful points have been made to you. The universe, unity and diversity, presence of Srila Prabhupada, your presence in all aspects. But this last year, I had an experience that gave me a realization that I would like to share with you. I came this close to leaving my body 50-day typhoid fever. And in the depth of that experience, my senses could not very well relate to the objects, and I was in my own little world, so to speak. And I had made a vow to associate with you and your devotees through sound. So I had somehow or other, by your mercy, you gave me this strength that I could continue to read. I was reading the Antya-lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita at the time, and all of a sudden I had this forced experience, or this forced realization by the physical condition I was in, not by any spiritual attainment or anything like that. It was forced. And I realized I didn't have anything in this world. Just like when I was standing there watching you leave, and when you left, I looked at myself, I didn't have anything. The world became vacant. So then, fast forward 40 years later, by some fluke of providence, I was almost removed from my body, but I was still in my body, but I was realizing that I wasn't my body, and I didn't have anything in this world, nothing. And then I began to read out loud, and I heard. Hearing is a very deep thing. Hearing from you is a very deep thing. And to me, it transcends all the issues and all of the levels of perception that each one of us has different, because each one of us is a different person. No two souls are alike. So how it was that Prabhupada could touch us, as we've heard, in that way, bridging all of the cultural and obstacles, was that he saw Krishna in us. Krishna is in each one of us, the one soul. To see it, in the beginning we have to surrender it. In the beginning, Prabhupada, to me, means that you have to at least theoretically accept that what your spiritual master is saying is true. And then I read Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami saying, if you can hear the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his eternal associates with faith and with love, without argument, without doubt, whatever it takes, embrace it. Whether it's something you want to do or not. So I was reading these incredible, juicy things, sound coming in to my ears without anything in the way. And then all of a sudden, all the suffering that I was going through dissipated. It went away completely. And I was with Prabhupada in his purports. And if you want to know me, read my books. And somebody mentioned knowledge. What's different between us and normal people is Srila Prabhupada, the knowledge he has given us. But that knowledge is as deep as the ocean, and it opens our hearts and open our eyes, not blindly, but with discrimination. And since then, Srila Prabhupada, when I read your books out loud with my godbrothers or with disciples of my godbrothers or new guests, new Western guests in Dallas, in Houston, in Folkestone, the UK, when they hear you, they become amazed. And yet, so many devotees have stopped reading Prabhupada's books. And this is my greatest pain. So on this most auspicious 40th anniversary of your disappearance, I know that you're with us, and I know that the sound of your purports, when vibrated with full faith, is non-different than you, just as the sound of the holy name, if vibrated without offense, is non-different than Krishna. And the personalities in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam show us, teach us how to think, how to feel, how to will, and how to act with others in such a way that we are safe at your lotus feet. There's no other shelter, Srila Prabhupada. You are my life and soul. Please keep me there. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
As long as Krishna Bharati Goswami ki jai.